First Contact. Captain Sarah Chen stood at the observation deck of the Eden-4 defense station, her dark eyes fixed on the holographic display showing the approaching Skatanii vessels. After 20 years of service in the United Earth Defense Force, she had never expected to be humanity's first point of contact with alien life. Yet here she was, watching as 3 sleek, crystalline ships gracefully decelerated into orbit around what many called New Hawaii. "They're hailing us again, Captain," Lieutenant Rodriguez reported from his communication station. "Same frequency as before." Sarah took a deep breath, squaring her shoulders. "Put them through." The holographic display shifted, revealing a tall, ethereal being with iridescent skin and multiple sets of eyes arranged in a circular pattern. The Skatanii's movements were fluid, almost hypnotic. "Greetings, defenders of Eden-4, the alien spoke, its words translated through the recently developed universal translator. "I am Survey Commander 9 Tal of the Skatanii Expedition Fleet. We come seeking knowledge and cultural exchange." Sarah had been briefed extensively for this moment. The entire future of human-alien relations could hinge on these next few minutes. "Welcome to Eden-4, Survey Commander. I am Captain Sarah Chen of the United Earth Defense Force. We are honored by your peaceful approach." The exchange that followed was surprisingly cordial. The Skatanii were indeed primarily interested in gathering data about new civilizations. They shared basic information about the galactic community, various species, and technological achievements. However, it was what they didn't say that worried Sarah more than anything they did. Later that evening, in a secure conference room deep within the station, Sarah sat with her senior staff and Dr. James Morrison, the station's chief xenoanthropologist. "They're setting us up," Dr. Morrison stated bluntly, his weathered face grave as he manipulated the holographic data the Skatanii had shared. "Look at the way they've tagged our location in their public broadcasts. It's practically an invitation." Commander David Walsh, Sarah's second-in-command, leaned forward. "An invitation for what?" "Conquest," Sarah answered quietly. "They're advertising our existence to the galaxy's predators." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. The Skatanii's data had included information about the major galactic powers, the 6 empires, as they were known. Each one was significantly more advanced than humanity, and most had histories spanning thousands of years. The Kataskan Imperium, in particular, stood out as a grave threat. "We need to contact Earth Command immediately," Sarah decided. "But first, I want to hear options. What can we do to prepare?" Dr. Morrison cleared his throat. "There might be something. During the data exchange, I noticed references to dimensional phase-shifting technology. It's considered theoretical by most species, but our quantum mechanics research teams on Earth have been making breakthrough progress in that field. Are you suggesting we try to shift an entire colony out of phase with normal space?" Commander Walsh asked incredulously. "Not just one colony," Sarah said, her mind racing with possibilities. "All of them. Our entire civilization." The next 6 months were a blur of activity. While the Skatanii's broadcast drew the attention of various galactic powers, humanity raced against time. The quantum mechanics teams worked around the clock, building on their research and the fragments of information gleaned from the Skatanii database. Sarah found herself promoted to admiral and tasked with overseeing the defense of Eden-4, which would likely be the first target of any hostile force. The colony had grown significantly since its establishment 15 years ago, now housing over 5 million people. Its pristine beaches and perfect climate had earned it the nickname New Hawaii, but soon it might become humanity's last stand. Dr. Morrison's team made the breakthrough they needed with barely weeks to spare. The first tests were successful. Small objects could be shifted into a parallel dimension, remaining visible but completely untouchable from normal space. Scaling up the technology presented enormous challenges, but humanity had no choice. Admiral Chen was in her office when the first warning came. A massive fleet had been detected at the edge of the system, the Kataskan Imperium had arrived. "How many ships?" she asked the tactical officer. "Over 3,000, Admiral. Multiple classes, but primarily warships. They're holding position just outside weapon range." Sarah activated the station-wide communication system. "All personnel, this is Admiral Chen. Execute Operation Ghost Protocol. I repeat, execute Operation Ghost Protocol. Throughout Eden 4 and across all human-controlled space, phase shift generators powered up." The technology had been distributed to every colony, every ship, every single human installation. Earth itself was ready, watching and waiting for the signal from Eden 4. The Kataskan Fleet's commander, Supreme Warlord Vexthor, appeared on the main screen. His species resembled a cross between an earth scorpion and a praying mantis, with blood-red armor plates and multiple limbs adorned with ceremonial weapons. "Primitive humans," he began, his translated voice dripping with contempt. "Your species has been chosen for the honor of serving the Kataskan Imperium. Surrender now, and we will ensure your transition to slavery is relatively painless. Resist, and we will dash." Sarah cut the transmission mid-sentence. Instead, she broadcast a different message, one that would be remembered throughout the galaxy for centuries to come. "To all who seek to conquer humanity, we offer this response." She pressed a single button on her console. Across human space, reality itself seemed to blur. Every human colony, ship, station, and installation shifted slightly out of phase with normal spacetime. They remained visible, but as translucent ghost-like images, completely untouchable and unreachable from normal space. The Kataskan Fleet's weapons passed harmlessly through their targets. Their sensors could detect the human installations but couldn't get solid readings. Their attempts at communication went unanswered. Sarah watched from her office, now existing in a different dimensional plane, as the mighty Kataskan Fleet floundered in impotent rage. She picked up her coffee mug, still perfectly solid to her, and took a sip. "Send a message to Earth Command," she told her aide. "Phase shift successful. Recommend proceeding with Phase 2 of Operation Ghost Protocol." The aide nodded and left, while Sarah turned back to watch the Kataskan ships. They were firing weapons uselessly at the station, each shot passing harmlessly through the structure. Humanity had chosen a different path than conquest or submission. They had chosen to simply step sideways out of reality, leaving their would-be conquerors to rage at ghosts. And this was only the beginning. Echoes of silence. Fleet Commander Zarake of the Meridian Consortium stared at the sensor readings with all four of her eyes, mandibles clicking in frustration. The human settlement below their fleet shimmered like a mirage in the desert, maddeningly visible yet completely untouchable. After 3 years of studying the phase-shifted human territories, they were no closer to breaking through their defenses than the Kataskans had been on day 1. "Another failure, Commander," her chief scientist reported, his crystalline exoskeleton dulled with exhaustion. "The new phase-matching algorithm simply cannot lock onto their dimensional frequency. It's as if they exist in multiple planes simultaneously." Zarake dismissed him with a wave of her upper limb. The Meridian Consortium had spent vast resources attempting to crack humanity's defense, but like every other galactic power, they had nothing to show for it. The humans continued their expansion, claiming system after system with their maddening phase-shift technology, completely ignoring the presence of alien fleets. Meanwhile, in the phase-shifted realm of New Hawaii, Dr. Elena Santos walked through the bustling streets of Paradise City, the colony's capital. The city had grown exponentially since the phase shift, now housing over 10 million people. Above her, ships from Earth arrived regularly through carefully controlled phase gates, bringing new colonists and supplies. Elena headed to the Quantum Research Institute, where she worked as head of the Phase Boundary Studies Department. The institute's towering spire shimmered with a slight dimensional distortion, a common sight in human territories now. As she entered her lab, her assistant, Marcus Wong, practically bounced with excitement. "Dr. Santos. The results from the multiphasic resonance test are in. You need to see this immediately. Elena hurried to his workstation. The holographic display showed something unprecedented, a stable connection between their phase-shifted space and normal space, maintained at a quantum level. Is this what I think it is, Marcus? Yes. We've finally found a way to create selective permeability between phases. We could potentially allow specific matter or energy to pass through while maintaining our defensive isolation. The implications were staggering. Since the phase shift, humanity had been completely cut off from the rest of the galaxy. While this had ensured their safety, it had also prevented any form of trade or diplomatic relations. A selective barrier could change everything. Elena immediately contacted Admiral Chen, who had become the head of the Phase Defense Command after the successful implementation of Operation Ghost Protocol. "Admiral, we've made a breakthrough," Elena explained, sending the data through the quantum network. "We could potentially establish controlled contact with the outside universe while maintaining our defensive position." Sarah Chen, now showing touches of gray in her hair, studied the data carefully. "The Security Council will need to evaluate this carefully, Dr. Santos. Our isolation has kept us safe, but it's also made us complacent. Are we ready to risk any form of contact?" Before Elena could respond, alarms blared throughout the facility. Marcus rushed to check the sensors. "Doctor, Admiral, you need to see this. We're detecting massive phase distortions in the Proxima Centauri colony." The readings showed something they had never seen before. Parts of the colony were forcibly being pulled back into normal space. Somehow, someone had found a way to disrupt their phase shift technology. "Emergency protocols enacted," Admiral Chen announced, her voice carrying through the quantum comm network. "All research facilities, lock down your data. All ships, prepare for potential hostile contact. Dr. Santos, I need you and your team to figure out what's happening and how to stop it." Elena and Marcus worked frantically, analyzing the attack pattern. The method seemed familiar somehow. "Marcus, pull up the original Skatanii data exchange from first contact," Elena requested, her mind racing. "Focus on their theoretical works about phase shifting." The pieces started falling into place. The Skatanii hadn't just been cataloging humanity, they had been gathering data about their quantum research. Their seemingly benign visit had given them crucial information about human phase shift technology. "Admiral," Elena called, "I think the Skatanii are behind this attack. They've been working on counter-technology since first contact. They're not just explorers, they're technological scavengers." In orbit around Proxima Centauri, the situation was deteriorating. Parts of the colony flickered between phases, causing panic among the population. A massive Skatanii fleet had appeared, using sophisticated quantum disruptors to try and force the entire colony back into normal space. Admiral Chen made a quick decision. "Dr. Santos, can you modify our phase shift frequency?" "Yes, but it would require synchronizing the change across all human territory simultaneously. One mistake and we could lose entire colonies to dimensional instability." "Do it. Better to risk a controlled change than wait for them to tear us apart." Elena and her team worked furiously, preparing the most complex quantum manipulation ever attempted. They would need to shift not just space, but time itself, creating a cascade of dimensional changes that would resonate through all human-controlled space. The Skatanii fleet pressed their attack, more of the colony becoming vulnerable with each passing moment. But they had underestimated humanity's adaptability. "Initiating phase shift cascade," Elena announced, activating the program. "May the quantum gods be with us." Throughout human space, reality rippled. The phase shift technology that had protected humanity for years transformed, becoming something new. Instead of existing in a single alternate dimension, human territories now phased through multiple dimensional frequencies simultaneously, making them even harder to track or attack. The Skatanii fleet's quantum disruptors, calibrated for the original phase frequency, became useless. Their attempted conquest had only served to make humanity's defense even stronger. In the aftermath, Elena stood with Admiral Chen, watching the Skatanii fleet retreat in defeat. "We can't stay hidden forever," Elena said quietly. "Sooner or later, we'll need to find a way to coexist with the galaxy." "Perhaps," Sarah agreed, "but we'll do it on our terms, not theirs. Your selective permeability research might be the key to that future. For now, though, we've reminded them why it's better to leave humanity alone." As they spoke, the stars above shimmed with quantum distortions, a constant reminder that humanity now existed in a state between states, neither here nor there, but everywhere and nowhere at once. The galaxy's powers would need to learn that sometimes the most effective defense isn't a bigger weapon or stronger shield, but simply choosing not to be there at all. The Skatanii's attack had failed, but it had taught humanity valuable lessons. Their isolation couldn't last forever, but neither could they trust blindly. Somewhere between total isolation and open contact, they would need to find a balance, and thanks to Elena's breakthrough, they might finally have a way to start building bridges without lowering their guards. Breaking the silence. Thrax Rantar had always considered himself a reasonable merchant, which was why he now found himself doing something completely unreasonable. His small trading vessel, the Star Whisper, hung in space near the edge of human territory, broadcasting a carefully crafted message on all frequencies. After 5 years of studying human behavior patterns, he believed he had found their weakness, curiosity. Inside his ship's cabin, Thrax's tentacles nervously adjusted the environmental controls. The message he'd crafted was different from the usual demands or threats the humans ignored. Instead, he offered something no other alien had tried yet: honest commerce. To his shock, it worked. His ship's sensors detected a localized phase shift forming around him, and suddenly the ghostly human station before him became solid. He had been pulled into their dimensional space. Meanwhile, in the Strategic Command Center on Eden, Admiral Sarah Chen and Dr. Elena Santos watched the alien merchant's ship with cautious interest. "Your selective permeability field is working perfectly, Elena," Sarah noted, studying the readings. "He's phase-shifted into our space, but only within a controlled bubble. If anything goes wrong, we can drop him back into normal space instantly," Elena finished. "The containment protocols are absolute. But Admiral, this could be our chance to establish controlled contact without compromising our security." The diplomatic team assembled quickly. Dr. Marcus Wong, now heading his own department at the Quantum Research Institute, had developed a sophisticated quantum scanner that could detect any hidden weapons or technology. Joining them was Commander Arya Patel, a first-generation phase-born human who had never known life outside the shifted dimension. "Scans are clean," Marcus reported, reviewing the data. "His ship matches known Serani merchant vessel configurations. No hidden weapons or unusual energy signatures." Commander Patel raised an eyebrow. "And you're sure this isn't another Skatanii trick?" "The Serani Imperium stayed neutral during the Skatanii incident," Sarah reminded them. "They're traders first, warriors distant second. If anyone was going to figure out how to approach us peacefully, it would be them." The meeting with Thrax was arranged in a specially prepared chamber within the station. The merchant's eyes widened as he entered, his tentacles rippling with what they assumed was excitement. "This is remarkable," he said through the universal translator. "To actually stand in human space, my colleagues said it was impossible. They said humans would never trust an alien enough to allow this." "Trust is earned," Commander Patel stated firmly. "Your approach was unique. Most aliens try to force contact. You asked politely." Thrax's skin shifted colors, displaying patterns that Dr. Santos's xenobiology database identified as indicating amusement. "Force rarely profits anyone. Trade, however, benefits all parties. I come seeking exactly that, mutual benefit." What followed was the first genuine diplomatic exchange between phase-shifted humanity and the greater galaxy. Thrax shared information about galactic markets, trade routes, and most importantly, how humanity's phase shift technology had impacted galactic politics. Your departure from normal space caused quite the upheaval, he explained. The major powers lost face. They couldn't admit defeat, but they couldn't ignore it either. Many smaller civilizations began researching defensive technologies, hoping to replicate your success. Successfully? Elena asked, genuinely curious. No one has managed anything close to your level of phase shift control. But the attempt to catch up has driven unprecedented technological advancement. The galaxy is changing, adapting to the possibility that superior firepower isn't always the answer. As they talked, deep in the quantum layers of space-time, something stirred. The multiple phase shifts humanity now employed had created ripples in reality, drawing the attention of something ancient. In the furthest research outpost of human space, a young scientist named Dr. Jean Zhao noticed the first anomaly. That's odd, he muttered, adjusting his quantum sensors. The readings showed distortions in the phase space fabric, but not like anything they'd seen before. These patterns seemed organic. Back on Eden 4, the diplomatic meeting was proceeding well when every quantum sensor in human space suddenly screamed alerts. Dr. Santos rushed to the nearest console, her face paling at the readings. Admiral, we're detecting massive phase space disturbances across all frequencies. Something is moving through the quantum layers. Before anyone could respond, reality itself seemed to shudder. Through the station's windows, they watched as enormous shapes emerged from the quantum foam, vast, crystalline entities that existed simultaneously across multiple dimensions. The quantum dreamers, Thrax whispered, his tentacles pulling close to his body in fear. They're just legends, ancient beings that supposedly existed before the universe properly formed. The entities took no hostile action, but their mere presence caused phase shift fluctuations throughout human space. Dr. Santos worked frantically to stabilize their dimensional frequency, but it was like trying to hold smoke in a hurricane. They're not attacking, Commander Patel observed. They're observing. One of the crystalline beings moved closer to the station, its structure shifting through dimensions in ways that hurt the human mind to observe. A message formed directly in their thoughts, bypassing all translation technology. You dance between states, it communicated. As we once did. As we still do. You are young, but you understand the truth, reality is not fixed. It is a choice. Admiral Chen stepped forward, somehow knowing the beings would understand her response. We chose to step aside rather than fight. To exist outside rather than dominate. Yes. And in doing so, you have drawn our attention. We have watched the younger races fight and die over solid space for eons. You are the first to transcend it. Dr. Santos's instruments were going haywire, recording energy patterns that defied known physics. Admiral, they're not just communicating. They're teaching. These readings, they're showing us how they perceive reality. The quantum dreamers continued their silent observation, their presence forcing both humans and aliens to confront the fact that their understanding of reality was merely the surface of something far deeper. The phase shift technology that humanity had developed as a defense mechanism had accidentally attracted the attention of beings that had mastered the art of quantum existence eons ago. Thrax, still processing the implications, turned to Admiral Chen. I came hoping to establish trade relations. I never imagined I would witness the return of legends. Neither did we, Sarah replied, watching as Dr. Santos and her team worked to understand the vast amounts of data the quantum dreamers were sharing. But perhaps this is exactly what the galaxy needed, a reminder that there's always another layer to reality, another way to exist. The quantum dreamers' appearance would change everything, not just for humanity, but for all spacefaring civilizations. The beings offered no weapons or tactical advantages, but something far more valuable, a deeper understanding of the quantum nature of existence itself. As the crystalline entities continued their silent communion with humanity's quantum researchers, Admiral Chen realized that their decision to phase shift had led them not just to safety, but to an evolutionary leap in understanding. The galaxy's powers had sought to conquer space, humanity had learned to transcend it entirely. And now, with the quantum dreamer's guidance and Thrax's diplomatic breakthrough, perhaps they could help the rest of the galaxy understand that true power lay not in controlling reality, but in understanding its infinite possibilities. Quantum evolution. The emergency meeting of the Galactic Conclave was chaos. Representatives from every major power argued violently about the implications of the quantum dreamer's appearance. The massive crystalline chamber on neutral territory buzzed with tension as species that hadn't spoken in centuries found themselves forced to acknowledge each other. High Chancellor Vexthor IX of the Kataskan Imperium, descendant of the commander who had first failed to conquer humanity, slammed his war gauntlet against the podium. These beings appeared in human space. They must be treated as human weapons. You fool, Ambassador Zarake of the Meridian Consortium countered, her 4 eyes gleaming with irritation. The quantum dreamers existed before our ancestors learned to make fire. They're not anyone's weapons. In the human delegations section, Dr. Elena Santos sat beside Admiral Chen, watching the proceedings with a mixture of fascination and concern. In the month since the dreamer's appearance, the galaxy had been turned upside down. Every major power had been forced to acknowledge humanity's right to exist in their phase-shifted state, if only because the dreamers seemed to approve of it. "They're missing the point entirely," Elena whispered to Sarah. "The dreamers aren't here to take sides. They're here to teach." Indeed, the knowledge the ancient beings had shared was revolutionary. Dr. Jean Zhao, now promoted to head of quantum interactions, had already implemented some of their insights to stabilize humanity's phase-shift technology. The results were remarkable. Human colonies could now shift between dimensional states with perfect precision, no longer feared the kind of attack the Skatanii had attempted. But not everyone saw the dreamer's arrival as an opportunity for advancement. Deep in restricted space, aboard a massive research station, Supreme Commander Ixil of the Skatanii Military Science Division watched the latest test results with growing satisfaction. The human phase shift technology was just the beginning, he told his assembled officers. The dreamer's quantum manipulation abilities are far more sophisticated. If we can understand and replicate them. The test chamber before them contained a captured piece of quantum crystal, believed to have flaked off one of the dreamer entities. Under intense energy beams, it flickered between dimensions, each shift releasing bursts of reality-warping power. "Imagine weapons that could erase entire fleets from existence," Ixil continued. "Or phase-shift technology that could reach into any dimensional plane. The humans thought they could hide from us. Soon, there will be nowhere in any reality they can hide." Back on Eden 4, Commander Arya Patel's quantum sensors detected the Skatanii experiments. The readings were unmistakable. Someone was trying to weaponize quantum shifting on a scale that could tear reality apart. "They don't understand what they're doing," Dr. Wong explained to the Emergency Council. "The dreamers exist in quantum harmony with space-time. Trying to force their abilities into weapons, it's like trying to power a starship with a supernova. It'll work for about 2 seconds before destroying everything." Thrax, now officially appointed as the first alien ambassador to phase-shifted humanity, rippled his tentacles in distress. "The Skatanii have always been dangerous, but this is suicidal. They could unravel the quantum fabric of space-time itself." Admiral Chen made a decision. "We need to stop them. Not just for ourselves, but for everyone." "Dr. Santos, is the new quantum integration system ready?" Elena nodded. "The dreamers showed us how to achieve perfect quantum synchronization. We can extend our phase-shift field around an entire fleet, even ships from other species. Then it's time to show the galaxy that humanity's greatest defense can also protect others." Sarah turned to Thrax. "Ambassador, we'll need your help. It's time to build a coalition." The next few days were a flurry of activity. While the Galactic Conclave continued to argue, humanity quietly reached out to various powers through Thrax's trade networks. The Meridian Consortium, seeing an opportunity to check Skatanii aggression, quickly agreed to join. Other smaller powers, tired of living under the threat of larger empires, pledged their support. The quantum dreamers themselves remained neutral, but their presence served as a constant reminder of what was at stake. Their crystalline forms hung in space like silent guardians, observing as the younger races scrambled to address a crisis they barely understood. Commander Patel led the joint fleet training, teaching alien crews how to operate within humanity's phase shift field. The key is understanding that reality is a suggestion, not a rule, she explained to her diverse group of students. Our ancestors thought the phase shift was just a defense mechanism. The dreamers showed us it's really about quantum harmony, working with reality instead of fighting it. Dr. Jean Zhao, monitoring the Skatanii experiments from a safe distance, reported increasingly dangerous quantum fluctuations. They're trying to force a quantum crystal into a weapon configuration. The energy readings are off the charts. If they succeed. They won't, Elena assured him. Because we're going to show them a better way. The joint fleet assembled in silence, ships from a dozen species gathered around Eden 4. For the first time, alien vessels voluntarily entered humanity's phase shift field, their crews marveling as reality seemed to blur around them. Admiral Chen addressed the assembled fleet. Today, we're not fighting for territory or power. We're fighting to preserve reality itself. The Skatanii believe they can control quantum forces they barely understand. We're going to show them why that's a mistake. The fleet moved out, shifting between dimensions in perfect synchronization. Elena's quantum integration system worked flawlessly, allowing ships from different species to maintain formation even as they phased through multiple layers of reality. As they approached the Skatanii research station, sensors detected a massive energy buildup. The Skatanii were preparing to test their quantum weapon, unaware that their actions could trigger a cascade failure in the fabric of spacetime. All ships, prepare for quantum interference protocols, Commander Patel ordered. Remember your training. Reality is a dance, not a battlefield. The battle that followed would be remembered not for its destruction, but for its precision. The joint fleet, moving through quantum states like water through sand, systematically isolated and contained the Skatanii facility's energy emissions. Elena's team, working with insights from the Dreamers, created a quantum dampening field that slowly stripped away the facility's ability to manipulate dimensional forces. Supreme Commander Ixil watched in horror as his weapon projects were systematically neutralized. Not by violence or superior firepower, but by a fundamental understanding of quantum mechanics that his scientists couldn't hope to match. The humans, he realized too late, they're not just hiding in another dimension. They've learned to speak its language. The crisis was averted, but its impact would reshape galactic society. The coalition that had formed to stop the Skatanii didn't dissolve after the mission. Instead, it became the foundation for a new approach to galactic relations, one based on quantum harmony rather than military might. The quantum dreamers, having witnessed the younger race's choice to preserve reality rather than exploit it, shared one final message before retreating to their own quantum realm. You understand now. Reality is not a resource to be consumed, but a song to be sung. Sing it well. The Symphony of Reality. 20 years after humanity's first phase shift, Eden 4 had transformed beyond recognition. The once modest colony now served as the headquarters for the Quantum Harmony Council, where representatives from across the galaxy gathered to study and implement the lessons learned from the quantum dreamers. Admiral Sarah Chen, her hair now completely silver, stood at her favorite observation point, watching ships from dozens of species phase in and out of different quantum states with practiced ease. Below her, in Paradise City, alien visitors walked the streets alongside humans, their presence made possible by carefully controlled phase shift bubbles. Quite a change from when we were hiding from everyone, isn't it? Dr. Elena Santos joined her, carrying a datapad filled with the latest quantum research results. Though older now, her eyes still sparkled with the same curiosity that had helped humanity master phase shift technology. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if we'd chosen to fight instead of shift, Sarah mused. If we'd tried to match the galaxy's firepower instead of stepping aside. The dreamers might never have noticed us, Elena replied. We might have just become another conquering empire, fighting over solid space while missing the quantum symphony completely. Their conversation was interrupted by an urgent message from Dr. Jean Zhao, now the director of the Quantum Integration Institute. Admiral, Doctor, you need to see this. We're detecting something new. In the Institute's main laboratory, Jean displayed a holographic representation of local spacetime. Quantum distortions rippled through multiple dimensions, but these weren't random fluctuations. They formed patterns, complex, beautiful, and deliberately created. Someone's learning to sing, Elena whispered, recognizing the significance. Just as the dreamers said we would. Deep in what had once been Skatanii space, a young researcher named Nine Tao, named after the original survey commander who had discovered humanity, had made a breakthrough. Instead of trying to force quantum forces into weapons, she had studied the patterns of reality itself. Her team had learned to create quantum harmonies, songs sung in the language of dimensional shift. The news spread quickly through the quantum networks that now connected most of galactic civilization. Thrax, serving his final year as head of the Galactic Trade Coalition, immediately recognized the implications. The Skatanii aren't trying to weaponize quantum forces anymore, he announced to the council. They're trying to understand them. To work with them. Just as humanity did. Commander Arya Patel, recently promoted to Fleet Admiral of the Joint Quantum Defense Force, saw both opportunity and concern in this development. If they've truly learned to create quantum harmonies, we need to make sure they understand the responsibility that comes with it. Dr. Marcus Wong, who had dedicated his career to studying the lasting effects of quantum manipulation on spacetime, pulled up his latest research results. These harmonies, they're not just affecting local space. They're resonating through the quantum fabric, creating patterns that could influence reality on a galactic scale. Then we need to make sure everyone learns to sing in harmony, Sarah decided. Not just the Skatanii, but everyone who's ready to understand. The next few months saw an unprecedented exchange of knowledge and culture. The Quantum Harmony Council, led by humanity but representing all spacefaring species, established new protocols for quantum manipulation. The focus wasn't on control or power, but on understanding and cooperation. Nine Tao's team was invited to Eden 4, where they worked alongside human researchers to develop what became known as the Quantum Symphony Protocol, a standardized method for species to learn and safely practice quantum harmonics. Reality isn't just something that happens to us, Nine Tao explained during a presentation to eager students from across the galaxy. It's something we participate in. The dreamers knew this. Humanity discovered it by accident. Now it's time for all of us to learn. The breakthrough came during a joint experiment between human, Skatanii, and Meridian scientists. They managed to create a sustained quantum harmony that didn't just shift matter between dimensions, it enhanced the fundamental stability of spacetime itself. It's like we're helping reality remember its own song, Dr. Santos observed, watching the readings. Every harmony we create strengthens the quantum fabric instead of straining it. In orbit above Eden 4, the Joint Fleet performed elaborate maneuvers, ships phasing between dimensions in patterns that created visible quantum harmonies. The display wasn't just for show, each movement contributed to a growing understanding of how different species could work together to maintain the stability of spacetime. Then, on the 20th anniversary of humanity's first phase shift, something remarkable happened. The quantum dreamers returned, their crystalline forms emerging from quantum space like notes in an ancient song. But this time, they weren't alone. New beings had joined them, entities born from the quantum harmonies created by the younger races. The symphony, as it came to be known, had given birth to a new form of consciousness, one that existed in perfect harmony with the quantum nature of reality. You have learned well, the dreamers communicated to the assembled representatives of galactic civilization. The symphony grows. Reality evolves. And you evolve with it. Admiral Chen, watching from her observation point, felt a profound sense of completion. What had begun as a desperate defensive measure had evolved into something far more significant, a fundamental change in how sentient beings interacted with reality itself. We started by trying to hide, she said to Elena. We ended up helping the galaxy find its voice. The quantum symphony became the foundation of a new era in galactic civilization. Species that had once fought over territory now collaborated to maintain the stability of spacetime. The phase shift technology that humanity had developed for defense became a tool for exploration and understanding. Trade routes now wound through multiple dimensions, monitored and maintained by ships from all species working in harmony. The Skatanii, once feared as conquerors, became known as masters of quantum mathematics. The Meridian Consortium's scientific insights helped develop new ways to use quantum harmonies for everything from communication to environmental restoration. And humanity, the species that had chosen to step aside rather than fight, found its true role, not as conquerors or victims, but as teachers and students, helping the galaxy learn to sing its own song in the quantum symphony of existence. On Eden 4, now known throughout the galaxy as the birthplace of the symphony, Admiral Sarah Chen made her final log entry before retirement. 20 years ago, we chose to hide from the galaxy's violence by shifting between dimensions. We thought we were choosing isolation, but instead, we found connection. We thought we were choosing weakness, but we found a different kind of strength. Most importantly, we learned that the greatest power isn't the ability to destroy or dominate, but the wisdom to harmonize, to understand, and to evolve. The silent defense became the galaxy's song. And now, every species adds its own voice to the symphony of reality.